With only $37 left in his pocket and a silence so thick it pressed against his ribs, Elias Walker stood in the dim glow of a cracked laptop screen, the weight of a life unraveled heavy in his chest. He wasn't searching for salvation, just dog food, the cheapest bag he could find. But fate slipped in on the nudge of a wet nose. Scout, his German shepherd, whined and shifted, his paw knocking Elias's hand. The cursor skittered, clicked. The page changed. A single grainy photo filled the screen. A 1920s Pullman railcar, half devoured by ivy, its windows gaping like hollow eyes. Needs TLC, the listing read. Scrap value. To anyone else, it was junk. To Elias, it was a fortress, a refuge, a final mission for a soldier with no war left to fight. The silence in the apartment was more than absence. It was a presence. It clung to the water-stained ceiling, curled around the peeling paint, settled in the dust that floated like ghosts in the last beam of daylight. Elias sat in the lone armchair, its fabric worn thin, much like him. Tall and lean, his body still, carried the wiry strength of a man shaped by war, but his short brown hair was streaked with silver, and his face bore the deep grooves of grief. His wife, Clara, had been taken 2 years ago by a swift, merciless illness. His business, built from nothing, had collapsed under betrayal. He had failed her. He had failed himself. And now all that remained was Scout, warm, steady, pressing against his leg, his dark eyes full of a quiet understanding no human could match. He dialed the number. A tired voice answered. "It's junk," the man said. "But if you can haul it, it's yours." Elias didn't hesitate. Over the next 3 days, he sold everything. Furniture, TV, even Clara's necklace, the act carving a hollow in his chest. He kept only his army duffel, a few clothes, her photo, his medals, and Scout's worn collar. He wired the payment. Signed the transport agreement, hand trembling, not from fear but from something deeper, something like the first breath after drowning. On the final morning, he stood in the empty room. The silence wasn't crushing anymore. It was just empty. He clipped Scout's leash, slung the bag over his shoulder, and walked out. No look back. He didn't know where this path led, only that it led away. The journey to the Appalachian woods was long, the diesel rumble of the transport truck a constant drone. Scout lay at Elias's feet, ears twitching at the changing landscape, concrete giving way to rolling hills, then the hazy blue peaks of the mountains. The driver, young and skeptical, barely spoke. When they reached the overgrown track, he shook his head as the winch screamed, dragging the rusted shell onto forgotten rails. With a final groan, the car settled, as if exhaling after decades of sleep. The truck left. The engine faded. And then silence. Ancient, profound. Elias and Scout stood before the metal beast. Up close, it was worse. Rust had eaten through skin and bone. The air reeked of mold, decay, time. It wasn't a home. It was a tomb. He placed a hand on the cold steel. Beneath the rot, solid, good bones. He pulled open the door with a screech that echoed through the trees. Inside, shattered glass, graffiti, trash, the ghosts of 100 forgotten lives. Scout whined, refusing to enter. Night fell. Elias unrolled his sleeping bag on the filthy floor. He'd slept in foxholes and monsoons under enemy fire, but this was different. This was self-imposed exile. Doubt slithered in, sharp, cold. What have I done? Every rustle in the woods sounded like judgment. Then, warmth. Scout had crept in, curling against him, head on his chest. A soft sigh. In that moment, the darkness didn't feel so heavy. The dog's heartbeat was an anchor, and for the first time in years, Elias slept, restless, haunted, but not alone. He woke before dawn, stiff, breath fogging the air. The despair of night had receded. A soldier doesn't retreat. He moves forward. After sharing rations with Scout, Elias began, sweeping decades of filth, hauling debris, tearing out rotted wood. Mindless, back-breaking labor. Progress. Then, his boot caught on a loose floorboard. It gave way. Cursing, he reached in and pulled out a heavy wooden chest, iron-strapped, damp but solid. He pried it open. The scent of cedar and oil filled the air. Inside, tools, claw hammer, chisels, hand drill, level. On the hammer's handle, initials, J.W., his grandfather's. Beneath them, a leather journal. He opened it, page after page of strong cursive. A home is not four walls. It's the space you protect with your effort. Elias sat back. The car wasn't a tomb. It was a legacy. He had his orders. Days turned into a rhythm. Sunrise, work, firelight. He patched floors, framed walls, installed a wood stove. Smoke curled from the roof like a flag. One afternoon, Scout bolted after a squirrel, into a neighbor's yard. Elias followed, heart in his throat. A boy, Mason, freckled and wide-eyed, laughed as Scout nudged a stick into his hand. "Are you the train man?" Elias nodded. Mason's mother, Lena, stepped out, cautious, kind. The exchange was brief, awkward, but not unkind. Bear, Scout, had been their ambassador. That night, the woods felt different, not empty, watched. Elias wasn't alone. Then the sky turned green, the air stilled, birds vanished. Elias knew. Storm coming. He secured the tarps, called Scout inside. Rain fell, then roared. Thunder shook the earth. And then, beneath the chaos, a scream. High, desperate. Mason. Without thought, Elias moved. Boots, raincoat, rope, flashlight. "Scout, come!" They plunged into the flood. The creek, once gentle, now a churning beast. On the far bank, Mason, clinging to a tree, water rising. Too dangerous to cross. Elias tied the rope to Scout's harness. "Go get him! Go get Mason!" Scout leapt, fought the current, claws churning, eyes locked on the boy, reached him, pressed close, licked his face. On the other side, Elias secured the rope. Lena arrived, sobbing. Together, they pulled them through. The storm passed. So did the silence between them. Word spread. The recluse. The veteran. The dog. Heroes. Days later, Lena brought a casserole. "Figured you're tired of beans." Others followed. Lumber, a quilt, quiet smiles. Elias, who had built walls for years, found them gently dismantled. But peace brought a shadow. He had saved Mason. But where had he been for his son, Daniel? Missed birthdays, angry calls, silence after Clara's funeral. One night, he found an old photo, Daniel at 16 beside a puppy Scout, both smiling, a lifetime ago. Lena saw it. "He doesn't need the man who failed," she said. "He needs the man who saved a boy in the storm." Elias sat at his table. Wrote a letter, no excuses, just truth. Folded it, wrote, "Daniel," sent it, didn't wait, just kept building. 2 weeks later, autumn sun golden, Elias sanded the porch. Scout's ears twitched. He stood, whined. From the tree line, a young man, tall, lean, hesitant. Daniel. They stared. 5 years of silence. Then, Scout barked. A joyful, thunderous sound. He charged, gray and white streak, and leapt on Daniel, licking, whining, tail wild. Daniel dropped to his knees, buried his face in Scout's fur. "You remember me?" Elias approached. No words, just a hand on his son's shoulder. That night, by the fire, Scout lay between them. Not empty, full. The soldier had come home. Some wounds never close, but around them, something new can grow. If you have a Scout in your life, a heart that never let go, hold it close. Because sometimes, the most broken place is exactly where we begin to come home.